based off of, the analysis, like it's more rare to pull a regular art Charizard, a double rare, than a special illustration rare. Well, this is called a special illustration rare. It's a secret rare, and it's more common to pull than the regular. Like, then they change things.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 677th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I'm your host, Steve. With me is Bobby.
Hello. I've been teaching my son the TCG all week, and it has revived my interest in playing the TCG. So I might be re-downloading live to give that a go again.
All right. Speaking of the TCG, it's going to be a TCG heavy episode. We have Mr. Danny Phantom here.
What's going on? I am super stoked to be here. This is very exciting. So thank you for having me.
When's the last time we recorded? I think I was on your show when you were doing a show.
Oh my goodness. That was
2020?
Like 34 years ago. 34 years. Yeah, it feels like that. It must have been around 2020. Yeah, it's got to be around. It was before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean 2019, 2020, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I would think.
It's
been a long time.
For our listeners who maybe don't know who you are, what do you do, Danny?
So I have a YouTube channel where I create content that kind of goes over really the Pokemon card market from a collecting standpoint. And I say that because there's a lot of connotations that go with Pokemon cards right now as far as like the market and investing goes. So mine is a lot more kind of catered towards from a collecting standpoint, but also like focusing on playing the game. A lot of people who have gotten into Pokemon, especially over the last, 6-7 months, don't really have a whole lot of understanding of the game attached to it, and the game has grown a lot, which is great. So I have a YouTube channel doing that, and then I also own an online card store. So you probably know of like your local game store, your local LGS. I have dabbled in online card sales since like 2015. Working with distribution and having my own website, and I've been doing that ever since.
Awesome. There we go. And I've known, gosh, how long have we known each other, Danny? Like probably like a decade at this point.
Yeah, I think because the first time we crossed paths was probably, it had to be like 2016, like Madison Regionals.
Yeah, Madison Regionals,
with the TCG.
I think. Yeah.
Like that. It's been a while.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, like I said, we have a TCG heavy episode for you guys today. We're going to talk about Black Bolt, White Flare. We know more of that. TCG Pocket. So I know some people only play Pocket, which is cool. And then we're finally going to get around to talking about how eBay purchased TCG Player and maybe what that means going forward. I don't think any. Also, Eternatus is coming to Pokemon Go, so we'll just spend like 5 minutes on that. And then for our bonus segment, we'll just grill Danny about how running an online store seems impossible.
It's so impossible. So impossible.
All right, let's start with Black Bolt, White Flare, which are not video games, by the way. I know I titled that one podcast episode Black Bolt, White Flare announced, which is true. They were announced.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're called. That was the thumbnail was the art that they provided.
People didn't like that. People did not like that you mentioned it as if it were... You didn't even mention it as if it were remakes.
I just said Black Bolt, White Flare announced. That's what.
Which is accurate. That is very accurate. It's here. It's here like in 10 days, 11 days, 12 days.
Yeah. Which is we've had there was another set. What was it? It was the Mega Symphonia, Mega whatever. I did the same title episode, was like Mega Symphonia, Mega Brave announced. No one had a problem with that.
A Black Bolt, White Flare.
Yeah, that was where they drew the line. Those Gen 5 remakes, people are so desperate for them. Danny, you said they're coming out in 11 days. That's specifically for Japan, right?
No, so it's already out in Japan. So it's in 2 weeks from the 4th of July, which was, as we're recording, a couple days ago. Yeah, so the 18th it releases in stores in English.
Well,
so Black Bolt and White Flare will be out
maybe
officially.
Put an asterisk by in stores if you can.
In stores if you can find it. Yeah. Well, I'm hoping So do you remember how it was terrible? Right before Celebrations came out, and that was like when you were kind of moving. I think, right? Like you were on.
Yeah,
on
I
your
was.
way
I
moving.
was in the moving because you were one of the last people I visited in Milwaukee before I
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
It was to
So
pick up Celebrations.
I think when Celebrations came out, everybody was like, I mean, a lot of storefronts were taking advantage and obviously charging way more than they should have. But when Celebrations came out, like I remember seeing posts all over the place of Target bringing out like extra shelving units to stock, where a lot of people were able to find it in stores. And now this is me making an assumption, but I'm hoping Black Bolt and White Flare will be somewhat similar, where it's two different sets that are released at the same time. They're giant sets, like 1 million illustration rares. It looks like pull rates are better. And I'm hoping that the fact that Journey Together did not do as well on the secondary market, Destined Rivals still is doing pretty well, but I'm hoping that this will be a little bit more available than what it's been. Time will tell, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. I think we're taking steps in the right direction.
I hope so. Did we ever get that prismatic reprint? Did that ever happen? The one that it did? Because I didn't see it here on the West Coast.
There was a large, I mean, we could talk more about this later. There was a decent sized ETB reprint that came.
Got it.
It was right before the Milwaukee Regional, and I remember it because like I got a call from one of my distributors, and they said that it was coming, and they said that unfortunately because of how little product they are getting from Pokemon, and I think this is all part of it. Pokemon is doing a good job of putting product in other hands than just going directly to distributors. They had to charge more, so a lot of distribution is charging more on second print runs or reprints or things like that. So we were able to buy Prismatic Evolutions ETBs, but we were paying wholesale costs of $80, for that second print run.
Wow.
And it has brought pricing down a little bit. I think people are just burned out by Prismatic, like people not really loving the pull rates. So, which I think is fair.
True.
For some reason, I thought Black Bolt White Flare was coming out like right before Worlds. I guess like end of July is kind of before Worlds, but I always
because it's like a staggered set release.
Yeah.
So like the ETBs come out in July, but then there's additional products that come out throughout August.
Oh, okay.
But if you remember, last year they released Shrouded Fable, which was a specialty set, right before Worlds, and they put it all out at once. But like Petrarunt ended up doing really well. And everybody needed Phesandipides for their decks, and so players were scrambling, and those cards were selling for like massive amounts. Nobody wanted to open the set. Nobody wanted to open Shrouded Fable because they didn't like it, but they needed those cards for pull rate or for their decks. Night Stretcher was in the set, and that was obviously huge. So all these players are like scrambling to try and get, and they ended up delaying it because there was like some issue with the Elite Trainer Box component or something inside. So it ended up coming out like 2 weeks before Worlds. Well, Worlds being in Hawaii, like everybody's getting there early and traveling because it's so much further for a lot of people. So it was kind of a mess. So maybe they're doing that this year where they're kind of like, oh, let's put ETBs and stuff out in July so it doesn't impact things as much.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you find if like a set does really well in Japan, does that translate to America?
Sometimes. I feel like for Prismatic, there was a lot of buzz behind it, but it's so different in Japan because it's a high-class set. So every box of Terrestrial Festival guarantees you an art rare, or a special art rare in Japan, which is what we call special illustration rares in English. So you open up a booster box, a 10-pack booster box in Japan, and you're guaranteed a special illustration or a special art rare, whereas you open up an Elite Trainer box here, and you rarely do you get anything, it seems, for that set. But they cost, they're supposed to cost relatively close to this. They probably do cost relatively close to the same amount right now, but you're guaranteed better hits. So, I think that the Japanese market oftentimes dictates how a set is going to do in English. A lot of people are excited about Black Bolt and White Flare, but everybody's excited about every Pokemon set right now. That hasn't always been the case. People were super excited for Scarlet and Violet when it came out in Japan, and then it released in the US, and nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about
pull rates were so strong on it? People were just like, "No, this is too easy."
Well, that's the thing with this one, right? Because there's 156 illustration rares since everyone has
per
one.
set, or
Something
there's
like
a lot.
Yeah, it's like I think half of the set is quote unquote secret rares, right? Because there's only like 86 regular cards, and then there's 170 total in each set.
Yeah.
And so those pull rates definitely have to be better if you got 156 different illustration rares to pull.
Yeah,
right?
so from, like, I do look at, like, pull rate numbers a lot, because I think it's important, especially not only as a store owner, but important to, like, talk to the community about. But pull rates right now for, like, an illustration rare is 1 out of 12 packs or so for the Scarlet and Violet era. But Black Bolt and White Flare, it's going to be, like, twice as good, it looks like, from early openings and things like that, where it's 1 out of 6 packs. But every single card, I think it's every card, every Pokemon has its own illustration rare as well. Which is really cool, but that makes it basically twice as easy to pull. It's kind of like Crown Zenith, like a good send-off if this does happen to be the end of the Scarlet and Violet block. Like Crown Zenith was a really good close the book on Sword and Shield. Kind of the same thing with this, where it's like better pull rates. I think that was, people were hoping for something like this with Prismatic, but Prismatic didn't have illustration rares. So the mindset was like, oh, well, Pokeball reverses and Master Ball reverses are supposed to be hits. People didn't really feel like you were getting anything special, just another reverse holo with some texture. So they took that into Black Bolt and White Flare, so you still get those reverse holos, but then they added in a ton of illustration rares, so it looks like you're going to have really strong pull rates and just this really bloated master set that is going to be over 800 cards when all is said and done.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's wild. And you like to collect master sets, right? Don't you try to collect a master set for every set?
Yeah, so I was always building one for myself, and then I started building one for myself and then one just to give away, because I'm already putting one together anyway, so like we're going to have all the commons and uncommons, like that stuff's fairly easy to pull with opening to get singles for the store and for the competitive players and things like that. So I started doing that. Now I'm going back and trying to master like all the older sets from when I took my break, because I was out of Pokemon from like Ruby Sapphire is probably when I started exiting a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I missed all of Heart Gold Soul Silver. I missed all of Diamond and Pearl. I missed Call of Legends, like all that. I came back like Black and White. I know. So all of those cards, I was at a card event last weekend, and I'm walking around. There was 800 vendors, and I'm seeing all these EXs, like older era EXs, and primes and all this stuff. And I'm like, why do people have to like these right now? Because they're so expensive. So trying to get I'm just like, they're like, that one's damaged, just so you know. I'm like, that's good. I like damage. Damage is great. Like, that brings the price down a lot. It's just going to the master set binder anyways.
Yep.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of prices, it looks like this is off Poke Beach. It looks like your top 4 most expensive cards are just the Zekrom, the other Zekrom, the Reshiram, the other Reshiram. These are reminiscent of that Black and White era where the Reshiram and the Zekrom were those very fancy cards that, well, they seemed fancy at the time. Everyone kind of freaked out about it at the time. Now it's just our standard.
And it does look like they're putting the you remember the Victini, the full art Victini from Black and White as well? So there's a red one.
Yeah.
That wasn't like confirmed originally for English release, but now it appears to be in the set for English as well. So at least that's like what people are. I don't know how people get product so early. Like, I get product really early so I can ship out pre-orders, but there's other people who get it way before me. So I don't know if they just like live next door to their distro and they just go knock on the door and they're just like, hey, did you get Black Bolt in yet? Can I pick up my order? But there's like leaks of the ETB booklet out there, and sure enough,
really,
there it is. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, that card is, I think that's the most expensive one in Japan right now for the set.
The Victini
I would
one?
imagine. It's a red, that red Victini one.
Yeah.
Very cool.
This is probably a dumb question. I could probably look this up. I don't have it in front of me. These cards will be playable for Worlds, right? I don't know if there's like any cards in the set that even seem good.
It's tough right now because Gardevoir and Dragapult are just so good that it's like, I mean, a lot of people were hoping, I think, once Journey Together came out and once Destined Rivals came out, that there would be decks that would like finally change the format. I think they did to an extent. Like Zoroark didn't end up being as good as people thought. Like Prismatic with the Eevee box didn't end up being as good as people hoped. Grimmsnarl's like decent. Like there's some good cards. It's just when you go to Worlds, it's like it's Gardevoir, it's Dragapult, and those are just the best right now. So there's stuff from Black Bolt and White Flare that will probably help, but nothing I think that's going to stand on its own. Not like what we saw last year with like Iron Thorns, like where it just kind of like there's going to be cards out there that help for
Iron
sure.
Thorns.
Yeah. But it's I think the format is screaming for the appearance of megas. I mean, we're not going to get another rotation until April, so Gardevoir is going to be around for a long time yet. But yeah, it's very stagnant right now. Looking at even the results from tournaments that are going on right now, it's just all Gardevoir and Dragapult as people gear up for Worlds.
Yeah, and
Charizard
like,
still has like potential.
we're like 37 days away from Worlds, or like 40 days away from Worlds. So it's like, when something's doing so well, do you really want to try to like change it? Like all you want going into Worlds is just like consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why this set that releases is always so dangerous. Like I remember one year, Steam Siege was the set that came out right before Worlds, and everybody was like, I mean, Steam Siege was not a very loved set. I don't know, like I don't think it still should be, but like it had Yanmega in it, which ended up winning Worlds for seniors, and that was like the one year where you actually saw people take a risk with Steam Siege out of all the sets that have come out.
If you're buying Steam, you're still taking a risk if you're buying Steam Siege now.
Yeah, yes. It's funny watching those cards and people like love Steam Siege. Like if I'll do a break or something, hey, can you put Steam Siege up for the next? Really? Why? What? Nobody wanted that set forever. It was even all of the like Sun and Moon era, like or XY era, like Steam Siege, Breakthrough, Breakpoint, like nobody loved that stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you lose it, same thing with megas, right? Like nobody loved megas, but then you lose them. Oh, I wish we had megas back. And then that'll be the same with VMAXs one day. Oh, don't you remember VMAXs? That was the glory days.
Yeah.
I think
and then Pokemon will come back to VMAXs.
Man, I think Tag Team was such a good mechanic. Like I want to see that come
was
back.
Great.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah, I think that maybe they will get to that eventually, because it takes them, from what I've heard, like 7 years to properly bring in an idea. So like when you have the tag team mechanic, that would have been, they said 7 years in the making. So if you figure the tag teams really started blowing up again, 2021 or so, it wouldn't surprise me if at like the tail end of whatever generation we're coming up to, so Gen 10 or whatever it is, like the tail end of that gen, then they introduce tag teams kind of like what they did at the end of the Sun and Moon era.
Yeah.
The last five sets or whatever tag teams came. So maybe we'll get something like that in the future. But right now it's going to be all like, we've got Black Bolt and White Flare. That's going to be crazy. And then that's going to lead us into the 30th anniversary next year. People are already gearing up for that when it comes to the TCG and making their spending decisions based off of that. So it's very interesting to watch.
Yes, I've seen recently people saying, like, buy these specific 20th celebration cards because of X, Y, and Z. Well, maybe just Z8.
It's crazy how people, they're like, it's so cyclical, which it is very cyclical. But like being involved in Pokemon and a fan of Pokemon for so long, like you remember when Pokemon Go came out, like there was definitely an uptick in the TCG, but not anything like what we've experienced over the last 7-8 months, and not anything like what we experienced during the pandemic. Like that was a completely different level. So yeah, it is cyclical, but not anywhere near this. You can still find, like, I think Hidden Fates was the first set release where I went to a store to buy like an ETB and they were sold out of them. Like I went to like a Walmart to buy an ETB and people were buying them with the intent to resell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Hidden Fates was probably the first time. But that was the only time until probably like Vivid Voltage came out, where it started being more of a normal thing, I guess, for people to do.
Well, we brought this up with Real Breaking Nate when Nate was on the podcast like a month or two ago, where like it feels now that in recent months, in the last like 7-8 months, people are just buying product and then selling that product. Whereas like during the pandemic, people were buying it, opening it, and then selling it. Because like they still liked opening it, or they were still like, oh, I want to get that Pikachu, I want to get that VMAX Pikachu or whatnot. And then they were like, well, I'm going to grade all these cards before I sell it. Now people are just like, I'm not even going to bother opening it. I'm just buying it to sell it.
Yeah, the idea of collecting Pokemon cards for like what's in the actual pack has like completely gone away. And now it's like, I want to collect sealed items, like a sealed item. And then I'll store it for a little bit, and then I'll move off of it. And I think part of it is probably because it is so difficult to get booster boxes. Like, booster boxes are, like, those are the first things that go. Probably because they're not sold in stores, really. Like, you can't go up to Target, walk inside and buy a booster box.
Right.
You have to go to Target online or Walmart online or an LGS. So those are the ones that just go right away, and people are just collecting that as a sealed item, and they just call themselves sealed collectors, which, like, that's fine. Like, they collect what you like. Like, that's what I'll always say. Totally. It's like, you should collect what makes you happy. But it's just a different way that I don't think anybody really thought of doing for, the first 25 years. Like, it didn't really become a big thing to be a sealed collector until the pandemic or later in the pandemic.
Well, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, you do all these analyses and everything, but when opening up Sword and Shield era sets, it felt like the cards you wanted to pull were more expensive to buy as singles. And when the Scarlet Violet sets came around, that dipped a lot. So it became like, well, it's always been if you want a specific card, just buy the card because it's going to be cheaper than trying to pull it. But it felt like buying a booster box of Scarlet and Violet and then trading the cards that you got for something you really wanted that you didn't get was harder because those cards ended up being cheaper. Whereas this Sword and Shield stuff, it just seemed like it was more, the singles were more expensive.
Yeah, it's because Pokemon has always, like, they've always done this where they've introduced, whatever their new shtick is or their new rarity is. So in Sword and Shield, like, they introduced alternate arts, which was kind of, like, they kind of did that in the Sun and Moon era. Like, you have the alternate art tag teams. And basically what an alternate art is exactly what it is. Like, you have a full art variant of the card, and then you also have an alternate art variant of it in the set. So, like, you have a Blastoise and Piplup, full art already, but then in the set you also have another alternate art version of it, and it just so happens that they have, things that they're doing in the background of the card. And then those were very difficult to pull. So because of that, you had a lot of hype. You had, like, it would take you for an alternate art V, like 3 booster boxes to find one. If you were trying to find a V Max, it would take you a case to find one. Well, then they started the Scarlet and Violet block, and the big card right out of the gates was Miriam. Everybody was pumping Miriam because that was big over in Japan.
Yeah.
And they called them special illustration rares in English, special art rares in Japan. But they changed the pull rate game completely. So I remember vending Indianapolis regionals when Scarlet and Violet opening weekend of Scarlet and Violet. So it wasn't legal for Indianapolis regionals, but it was out officially the first day of the tournament. And watching the prices on singles, like I didn't even bother pricing any of those singles before we got there because I was like, these things are going to tank. They're going to get absolutely destroyed because everybody's basing it off of what their pull rates typically are for the Sword and Shield sets. And then Scarlet and Violet comes out and it's like, well, you can get 2 per booster box pretty easily. Like the pull rates for the first few sets of Scarlet and Violet were 1 out of 27 packs for a special illustration rare. So they were relatively easy to pull. And then when Obsidian Flames came out, the set was so small, the amount of illustration rares and special illustration rares were so few and far between that statistically it became easier to pull a special illustration rare Charizard than it was to pull a regular art Charizard because of the amount of Charizards in the set. So based off of, the analysis, like it's more rare to pull a regular art Charizard, a double rare, than a special illustration rare. Well, this is called a special illustration rare. It's a secret rare and it's more common to pull than the regular. Like then they changed things. So then pull rates changed with Paradox Rift and 151, and then they really started changing with Temporal Forces, where now it's like 2 booster boxes will yield you 1 special illustration rare, and that's kind of where we're at now. So depending on the set size, that's why you start having some more expensive special illustrationers in the back half here of Scarlet and Violet than what we had in the front half, because they're just easier to pull.
Yeah.
And it's really just a perfect storm right now. So a perfect storm of everybody having different mindsets. And really over the past 6-7 months, like the release of Pocket, the release of Surging Sparks, and a lot of people chasing the Pikachu, and then the understanding that Prismatic was going to come out, and in the back of your mind, you're thinking 30th anniversary, there's money to be made. And then all of a sudden you have this giant influx of people coming in, ripping ships take off even more. And then, boom, there's no product. And now Pokemon is just like, well, let's focus on getting product out there, whatever ways we can do it. So they're kind of shying away from booster boxes, and they're putting up all these vending machines. Like, the amount of vending machines they've put up is insane. Like, they've almost doubled the amount of vending machines they've had across the United States over the past, 3-4 months that they can stock frequently. And then they're starting to sell Pokemon cards everywhere, like you can get them at Ace Hardware and Dick's Sporting Goods. And
I saw you
all
can get
these
them at
different
Dick's Sporting
places.
Goods
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
And they can regulate how much they put out there. They can't regulate pricing as much as it would be nice if they could, but they can regulate where it's going at least. So that way it's not getting backdoored, at distribution centers or something like that.
See, they could fix this whole thing by just putting out battle styles. And then everyone just goes, oh, battle styles.
Yeah, it's so funny when people still like, oh, battle style is going to be the next big thing. Nobody wanted battle style. Even during the pandemic, like it was crazy. Like we were never anywhere like this. Like booster boxes were still selling for, Evolving Skies got to like 120, I think, 125 opening weekend.
I remember that.
And it probably stayed there for a while. But like, I don't know. Battle Styles is like $80 a box.
Yeah.
Like, Chilling Reign was down at that point at one point in time. Like when you were like sealed collecting just wasn't this big thing, or sealed investing. Like people wanted to open the cards and chase the alternate arts, and I think Black Bolt and White Flare look fantastic. Like coming back in to Pokemon, like everybody says they love Gen 5, but I remember when Gen 5 came out and it didn't feel like a lot of people liked Gen 5
100%
when it came out. So like that was the first video game like I got back into, and I don't think it was anything like because of the video game or because of the cards. It was just because I met a community of people that loved Pokemon. So at that time, like I was like, oh, I want to be friends with these people because I finally found my place with people who like what I like. Otherwise I was just like talking to myself like a nerd. So like having that as an opportunity was great. And then I don't know, I fell in love with Chandelure, and like the rest was history.
Yeah, here we are.
Never let go. Yeah.
And emerging powers won your heart.
Yes, which it should have to everybody. Emerging powers was so great. It's funny going back too, and you look at like, did you open up black and white era booster boxes?
Yeah, I did.
Do you remember opening any? Okay,
because
like,
I got back into the TCG near the end of Heart Gold Soul Silver, so I still had like decks with like the Call of Legends stuff and the when Crushing Hammer was first introduced, and then it was still like Mega Prime was really dominant and everything.
Yeah, you open up a booster box from any, like even Plasma Storm, like you get 4 or 5 ultra rares in a booster box. And like that was great. Like that was what you were used to. That was fine. Now you open up a booster box and you get like 12 or 13 hits, and you're like, oh, the pull rates here are terrible. Like everybody like hate Prismatic, and we knock on Prismatic a lot because you don't get as much. But back, like I can't even remember how many boxes I opened up throughout Black and White, and I was fine getting 4 or 5 hits in a booster box. It was just normal.
Yep, it sure was.
Different times. So I didn't get back into the TCG until right before, maybe right during the pandemic. I think Steve, you were pushing it a lot somehow. You were opening stuff, or you were getting me excited about it. So I was like, all right, I'll dip back in. Like,
I think I was opening a lot of stuff before the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah, I had my childhood collection and everything, so I dug that out and was like, all right, let's jump back in. And it's been great, but it's definitely. And then in the Sword and Shield era, it was like, okay, I'm just collecting to collect, just like whatever I can open is good. And then Scarlet Violet, I was like, oh, it's so easy to purchase the illustration rares after the fact that maybe what I'll do is open a little bit and then just buy the illustration rares. And that was working up until Paradox Rift. And then they decided, like you said, to make the pull rates harder. And I was like, oh, these are all too expensive now. Like,
really pricey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, speaking of pricey, let's take a break, and then when we come back, we will talk about the amount of money that TCG Pocket continues to make month after month. We will be right back. This podcast is brought to you by Mint Mobile. Things are expensive. Have you been to the grocery store recently? Maybe you can't save money on eggs, but you can save money by switching to a premium wireless plan that starts at $15 a month, Mint Mobile. All these plans come with high-speed data or data, however you say it, and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone you're currently listening to this podcast on with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along. You can listen to this podcast. You can play Pokemon Go. You can play some Pikmin Blue, maybe some Monster Hunter now. I don't know why I just named 3 Niantic games. You can do all of that on your Mint Mobile plan. You can ditch your overpriced wireless plan and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. Data, no matter how you say it, don't overpay for it. Shop data plans at mintmobile.com/PKMNcast. That's mintmobile.com/PKMNcast. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for the first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. And we are back from our break. There is 2 things. Well, let's talk about the free stuff in Pocket. Right now, there is a collaborative VTuber stream in Japan. This is off Sarumi, and there's a special code for TCG Pocket to get 24 hourglasses for free. That code I'll be up on Instagram and Twitter and everything, just so I'm not going to read it out on the podcast. You're not going to pull over in your car and enter this code in. So it will be on my social media, but you can redeem that until August 31st. That'll give you 2 free booster packs. I wish I knew more about the VTuber stream in Japan. I don't know why that's happening. I don't, but yeah, enjoy your free gift. The sales numbers have come. The revenue numbers have come out for Pocket for the month of June. So it's down. Crazy. In May, Pocket made $80 million. In June, it only made a small amount of $53 million, dropping from its first place to third place, being surpassed by Genshin Impact, which that game is still doing very well, apparently, and Love and Deep Space. I don't know anything about Love and Deep Space, but it's number 2 right now. It was number 2 last month.
Yeah, I think we're Pokemon podcast, so we're going to talk about TCG Pocket, but the bigger story here is that Genshin Impact made like almost twice as much in June as it did in May.
Yeah, I think they had like an anniversary event, maybe.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, Zenless Zone Zero ZZZ also made 4 times the amount. They made 10 million in May, and then they made 38 million in June. So. With all of these games, it's probably just event based, right? Like what event triggered the amount of money coming in? So what was May for Pocket? What was that? That was the start
Alola. That was
good.
Well, didn't
Alola.
Yeah, and then there was really nothing though in June, right? Like, which is what these numbers are for. So it was
It was the small set. It was the Extra Dimensional Crisis. So it was the second Alola set, right at the end of
with
May,
the Ultra Beasts.
With the Ultra Beasts,
and that set was really small.
Yeah, it was like Mythical Island size, small.
So July, you would think it would climb back up a little bit
with the Eevee set.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think that's a good test. We'll come back in a month and see how dominant Eevee would be. Like, is Eevee going to be 80 million dominant, or is Eevee going to be even more because it's Eevee?
It could be.
I don't know.
It is the year of Eevee after all. So.
It
never
is
know.
year of Eevee.
We also did have
those.
like school ending. So I know obviously in
Mm.
Pocket I don't know the other games very well because I mean I just haven't played them. But would those be like with school ending? Would those be like games that people now that they have more free time they would spend more and do more like in June versus May? Like would that have an impact on things or probably not really?
I have no
I don't
idea.
think so.
I don't.
Okay.
I think a lot of these are. I know for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I want to say there was a big Genshin anniversary event, and that's probably why Genshin doubled its money. But I don't want to come on here and say like I know. My question is though is we mentioned this in the last segment, Danny, but Pocket seemed to have an additional effect on the real cards. Like
I think so.
people got into Pocket for free, started opening packs, and then when they ended up at Target or Walmart, they were like, "Oh, I can buy real packs." Assuming they could see real packs. Look, sometimes when I walk in the store, there's some packs. It's
Are there?
not like every time.
Wow, not in San Diego. I haven't.
Not in San Diego.
I think
It's
San
in-
Diego's probably a lot different too, though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I would assume. I mean, it wouldn't even surprise me as much, Steve, for you if you don't see packs as often. Like, if you live like, I don't look very often. Like, if I'm walking, to go get something from Target, like bread or whatever, and I walk past the cart aisle, I'd say like half the time I walk past, there's booster packs there. But I live, out in the sticks, so.
Mm.
Depending on, I think where you live also plays an impact on things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've seen booster packs. And granted, I used to like try to go on restock day and like, all of that. And I kind of stopped doing that, especially when Prismatic came out. That was kind of disheartening. But I don't think I've seen cards on the shelves since Prismatic came out. Now, I know they're there. I know like if you go in the right days and everything, like you'll get them. But yeah, just like casually walking through a store in the last 6 months, I have not seen a pack of cards on. I would have bought them if I saw them.
But you have the vending machines. Like I
have
haven't
vending machines.
I haven't
That's
seen
true.
any of the Pokemon vending machines in
That's
my
true.
area.
You haven't gotten any yet?
There might be, but I don't think to any of the stores I've went to. I know there's like a website like Pokemon vending machine.
Yeah.
Something like it's not that, but yeah, there's a vending machine website.
PokemonVendingMachine.com.
Yeah, you're right. I have seen very few in vending machines. That's true. But like at a Target, Walmart, Best Buy, I just have not seen packs on shelves.
Minnesota
So when you
does
were
not
going
have
on-
vending machines.
Any of them?
No,
Like,
I see
not throughout
Wisconsin,
the
I
state
see
at all?
Ohio,
Wow.
Indiana, Illinois. Yeah, no,
Wow.
no Minnesota yet.
What did Minnesota do?
Yeah,
They must
seriously.
have-
They burned down our city. No vending machines for us.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
I do think though also Pocket, so not so much just, well, I mean, obviously maybe the reseller market too, but maybe like the physical card game as well. Like, did you go to NAIC? I did not go
No.
to NAIC.
I
Okay.
canceled my trip last minute because I hurt myself.
Oh,
Which
okay,
is different than how I hurt myself this time, but
Oh, okay. They had like I don't know, I forget how many masters it was, 3,800 or something, some insane amount. So like maybe TCG Pocket is also impacting it from a player base as well, because it's not the same as playing the game, but it gives you a good understanding of like the basic rule set and things like that. So I think it's also doing a lot of good in that regard also.
yeah, I think.
Well, I think there's like I'm sure. I mean, I feel this way when I play Pocket. Every time I play Pocket, I'm just like, man, I wish I was playing the real game. And I've heard that from other players where they're like, I wish this game was like deeper. And it's like, well, I got good news for you. There is a deeper version of this game.
It does exist.
It has 6 prizes instead of 3, and it has 60 cards
I've never
instead
heard
of 20.
of that before.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. Again, I've been teaching my son how to play the TCG all week, and we've been just playing with like the pre-constructed like build and battle box sets. So just doing like 4 prize games and just to kind of teach him the fundamentals and everything. But it got me thinking, okay, I'm having a lot of fun with this. And then it put me into like three thoughts, where one was, am I just having fun with this because it's like I'm playing with my kid, right? So there's no pressure, right? Whereas I'm playing strangers, it's like I want to win. If I'm playing with my kid, it's like I just want him to learn, right? And then two was like, okay, maybe I just start actually getting into the battle side of Pocket more, because I've been very just collection side. Maybe that'll just, like scratch that itch. And then the third was like, no, I think maybe I want to like play TCG live. And then that turns into physical versus online is so different. Like even TCG live versus like having the cards in front of you, like having your deck, playing with another person in front of you, right? So it's like, I think Pocket definitely has, like I think it can be a stepping stone, right? But I feel like if someone's already playing the TCG, they're maybe not like as happy playing Pocket. But if someone's new and has never played before, it's like Pocket can be that great stepping stone into getting into the TCG, right? Like I feel like it's more one way toward the TCG than it is people going from like, oh, I love the TCG, now I'm just playing Pocket all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes. No,
I
agree
that's
with
happening
you.
as much.
No, I agree too.
I don't know anyone who's like playing a 60 card deck every day or most days of the week to prepare for a tournament, or just because they like it to then go, oh, I want like a simple. I'm sure there are people who play both, but I don't think anyone's giving up like the main game to go to something much simpler.
Right.
Yeah.
Or sacrificing time that they would normally invest in, the full game to spend more time like metagaming in the Pocket version.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Pocket version, the meta also changes like every 3 weeks, whereas like the main TCG, it changes like every 3 months, unless there's like a special set.
Lucky. Yeah.
Does the Japanese game, does the meta change quicker since sets are coming out like smaller and they're coming out once a month, or does that not really make a difference in that?
It does make a difference. Not as big of a difference as it used to, because they were on a different rotation schedule for a long time. So like which would always mess up like when Worlds hit. Like there would be cards that would be legal in Japan that weren't legal in the United States, and then all of a sudden all these, different countries are meshing together, and then there's certain cards that can't be played, or yeah. So it's not as bad as it used to be, but yeah, it does evolve faster.
Yeah.
But their tournament structure is so different too. Like the player base, the size of tournaments, it's just, I don't know, like 4 times what the States have. Like it's crazy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense, but surprising to hear.
I hate when people say this. I see it all the time where we say that like, Pocket made $80 million last month, and then this month it made $53 million. And then the response that I hate is like, well, it's Pokemon. Of course it makes money. And it's just like not true, because there's like 2 games I think of. One is Pokemon Duel, which I don't even think it made it 2 years before it collapsed.
Great game. That game deserved more.
Well, it wasn't making money. It might have been good, but it wasn't making money. The other one was Rumble Rush, which I don't even think made it to a full year. I think it closed after like 11 months. In perspective, 80 million for May, 53 million for June. I want to point out a different Pokemon game that is on this list. Pokemon Masters EX.
Nice.
How much do you think it made? If Pocket made 53 million in May, how much do you think Masters made in May?
6.
I was gonna say 5. I don't.
1.5 million.
Oh, no
Pocket
way.
made 53 times the amount. And in May, Masters made 1.8 million. Look, $1 million a month on a mobile game is still a lot. I can't imagine it costs $1 million to run that game for 30 days.
Yeah.
But
I would hope not.
There's might be something terribly wrong with your business structure if your overhead is $1 million a month. But there's just something about I think with I think Masters is good. Like I don't have any issues with Masters. I think like collecting trainers and all those trainers have like voice lines and like they're fleshing out a story. And I would bet that a lot of people who like Pocket just like opening packs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you could say the same about Masters. Like, you could just collect characters and not actually do the game part of the game. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. That's what I do with Masters. I don't actually play the game part. I just like to collect characters. But I think the difference between Masters and Pocket is so simplified, so like user friendly. And like when you open Masters after being gone for like a week, it's like, here are 300 pop-ups of everything you missed, every banner that's going on. Here's a new storyline. Really yeah, it's a lot. And I don't know if we talk about how like Pocket has probably influenced the physical TCG of why it's like harder to find cards, but I do wonder how many people couldn't find cards and then Pocket was just like, I'm done with physical cards. Yeah. I'm just going to do Pocket, and like I'm just going to do all my collecting here. I get 2 packs a day. I can put $10 in and actually feel like I'm opening something.
Kind of me over here. After Prismatic, I just kind of left cards behind, physical cards, and thought, okay, I'll do Pocket, and then I'll come back and buy singles if I want singles, of specific cards. And maybe one day if I can find cards on the shelf again, I'll buy
when
cards
you find
again.
cards.
Yeah.
And bouncing off your point, your disdain for like the Pokemon making money off of it too. I think Pocket was probably like the most difficult release Pokemon has ever done when it comes to a mobile game, especially a mobile game. As far as it just seemed very touchy when it first came out because of the time. Like the idea, like at least in the community that I spend a lot of time with, it was mostly like turning into NFTs and this fear of all this stuff. Like Pokemon needed to kind of release it perfectly where they were really happy with the product, but also like it was just a very difficult, a lot of scrutiny, I think, before it even came out. So I don't know, I think it was handled well. I think that they've done a really good job with it. I think, like you said, it's scratched that itch for a lot of people who haven't been able to find cards, and that's probably helped with the success of Pocket. And as long as they can continue to grow it, like they've done a lot of good job with, or a lot of good things with their other apps out there, adding things to it, adding pieces to it. Like you get, as long as they can make sure that they, I don't want to say police it, because you don't want to have to do that, but they can, monitor it somehow, like where it's not being taken advantage of. Like I think it's a really good outlet, especially for people who can't travel to events and play, as frequently. Like it scratches a lot of itches. We'll say that. Like it gives you a little taste of a lot of different areas of the hobby, which is good.
Yeah.
When you were at that card show recently, Danny, with you said like 800 vendors. How many people did you see like playing Pocket in between?
No, not really. I mean, so Go Fest was going on, so a lot of people had like, it was in Tampa Bay, so a lot of people were like on their phone for Go, but that was, I mean, I guess maybe not as many as I thought I would. Maybe
I saw a lot of Pocket on the trains in Japan. Like,
did you?
Almost every single train ride, I would see somebody open up Pocket.
Really?
Yeah.
And that didn't get you to open it? You said you didn't open it for like 4 days when you were in Japan.
Yeah, because every time I opened it, it said I needed like a 300 megabyte update.
That's what I ran through last night. I had not opened Pocket for probably like 3 weeks. I was on level 6. I was excited about Pocket, but then I started playing the gameplay. I'm like, oh, this is fun, but it's not really as fun as playing, my 60 card deck. Kind of going off of what we were talking about before. And it's just another thing to open up. And I was like, normally when I'm putting the kids to bed or reading books or something, I'll open it, and I just kind of got away from that. And then you sent the notes for today's episode, and I was like, okay, we're talking about Pocket. Well, I'm not good with that right now, so I got to open this back up. And then it was like, this is going to take 17 minutes to download the update. And I was like, well, okay. Got to get through it. But then I opened some Eevee Grove and I didn't pull anything, so I got frustrated and closed it.
Same
just like real life.
As Prismatic.
Yep, just like real life. It was like opening Prismatic again. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned like Pokemon policing things. I do think they tried to police Pocket really hard when it came to trading. Like they were really strict on trading, and I think what was there was some stuff on Reddit of like the trading stuff the conversion rates for the trading stuff has been like added on the back end. So I know that people keep asking like when are our tokens going to turn into shine dust or whatever. They said by the end of the year, and now we at least know that it's somewhat been implemented on the back end. So any time between now and December,
I bet they'll do it around the anniversary, because that would be October. End of October would be the anniversary. I could see them. That might be kind of late, but they did say in the fall, right? They did say in the fall of 2025. So
I thought they specifically said end of year. I don't know if they said fall.
Oh,
I think
forgot.
they did say end of year.
Did they say end of year? I thought they said in the fall.
I would assume we'll get some kind of update at Worlds.
Maybe Worlds, yeah.
They'll probably say something.
Well, there's that Pokemon Presents. So that could be that doesn't have to specifically be ZA, right? That could be TCG, that could be Unite, that could be Sleep.
Yeah,
I feel like it's gotta be a lot. There's a lot of questions out there right now.
Yeah, they do like 30 seconds on each mobile game, or a minute on each mobile game. Usually,
Cafe Remix isn't on this list. Well, I guess it's not a gacha game, but
Masters is booming in the yeah, right now it's making a lot of money. I just want to see what's coming next.
1.5 million.
Yep.
Did you say Cafe Remix isn't? Oh, it's not a. Is Cafe Remix a gacha?
Because it's not a gacha,
right?
Except it kind of is a gacha.
It kind of is.
I would also consider Pokemon Go pretty gacha-y. Like if you're doing raids over and over, like that's literally a gacha.
And I don't know anything about doing raids over and over, Steve. I have no idea what you're talking about.
$83 for what, a single shiny Regieleki?
84 Regieleki raids later, yeah.
Wow.
Wait, more than 84, because you probably remoted into some.
So more than $84?
Yeah.
Yes. I will.
That's determination, though.
I had a stack of premium raid passes from like the years of COVID when I didn't go outside, and they were in bundles that I bought. So, yeah.
All right. Well, there's your pocket minute. Oh, actually, right before we take a break, Bobby, since you probably opened more Eevee Grove than everyone else, how did you feel about Eevee Grove as a set?
I felt good. Disclaimer: the Pokemon Company sent me $50 worth of Pokegold to open the set. So it's a fun set. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't been looking at the PvP side to see like what's changed in the meta, or like what cards are good. I will say the artwork on the cards is very good. They did do the thing, I think, where like I said they haven't done like an illustration and a special illustration rare of the same Pokemon in a pocket set yet, where like they do like a 1-star and a 2-star.
Mm-hmm.
They did with the set. They did Flareon. They have a Flareon and a Flareon EX that both have like an illustration to them. Yeah, it's a fun set. The immersive card's really cute. If you haven't pulled it yet, it's a real cute one. Yeah, nothing too spectacular. I guess coming off of the Alola high that I had for the last 2 months, just having Alola cards. But I think everybody likes an Eevee set, right? I mean, people love Eevee and the Eeveelutions. So
I think if you're comparing Ultra Beast to Eevee, I think Eevee wins that hands down.
I guess, but the Ultra Beasts are just misunderstood.
No. I think Eevee just has a little more staying power than Pheromosa. All right. We have a little bit of Pokemon Go news. Although I was on GoCast this past week. I think their episode came out on July 5th or something. So like that was all about their whole show is about Pokemon Go. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Global Go Fest and just the recent Pokemon Go news with like the water festival and the Dragon Festival. I don't know all 3 festivals. There's like 3 festivals leading up to
Dragon,
Trinitas.
Steel and Water or something like that.
Yeah. There's the Aegislash is coming to the game and stuff. So we'll just do a tiny like 5 minutes of Pokemon Go this podcast. But if you want all that Pokemon, if you want my thoughts on Pokemon Go, I was on GoCast, which Spotify, iTunes, wherever you find podcasts for this week. And also like Chris and Kyle are really great. So I chat with them. I think that was like a 2-hour show maybe. So we'll take a break. So this show doesn't become 2 hours. And then we got one more bit of TCG stuff related to maybe the market stuff again, which Danny can talk to. So we will be right back. And we are back from our break. All right. this has happened over several years, so we'll try to piece it together for you. The gist of it is, at one point eBay purchased TCG Player. And this kind of matters because TCG Player is pretty popular when it comes to selling cards, buying cards, checking prices, like all of that. So in August 22nd, 2022, that is when eBay entered an agreement to acquire TCG Player. They ended up purchasing TCG Player for $295 million, and that closed in Q1 of 2023. And then there was some drama with that. That sale is finalized, but now it is. Now I guess we don't know what the future of TCG Player is. They're not shutting down TCG Player, but the first bit of drama is they shut down the Syracuse operations of TCG Player, which eliminated 220 jobs. And then the other part of that news is they were unionized, so the union was able to argue against it. So those jobs are still gone.
Yep.
But they argued and got a 20-week severance package with an additional $2.50 an hour above their current wages. They also got 6 months of COBRA coverage, and then 7 months of health benefits, and then an additional $1,250 ratification bonus. So shout out to their union for fighting back against eBay. That's awesome. That's not awesome that 220 people lost their jobs, but still good here. That this news comes from SpectrumLocalNews.com. That's what we're reading this from. TCG Player also does stuff for Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And just not Pokemon. So 220 people out of a job. TCG Player still exists. I'm doing air quotes for the audio people. But for how long? Do they just keep this running as what's going to actually happen to TCG Player at this point?
I feel like they will keep it running. I think the original concern a couple of years ago was that TCG Player was going to be forced to adopt all these eBay policies, which there's some good ones that could carry over to TCG Player. The shipping policy that eBay carries is probably better for eBay than it is for TCG Player. So there was a giant fear of that. So listening to the article that you are reading and reading that article also, a few weeks ago, I thought I read somewhere that the reason TCG Player and eBay got into this big kerfuffle was because TCG Player was trying to unionize. So have you seen that? Is that what triggered this all? Or maybe I misunderstood that, but I thought it was they were attempting to unionize, and then maybe they did get through with it, which is why they got more to begin with. And then eBay was like, whoa, pump the brakes here. We're not cool with that.
Yeah,
the union happened in 2023. eBay acquired TCG Player technically in 2022.
Okay, yeah.
So this was the first group from eBay to formally unionize.
Yeah.
Which is why eBay went in there and they were like, nope, not cool. We're shutting you down.
Yeah, it kind of seems like there may have been some overlap there.
Yeah.
Because
I'm assuming out of fear then that the other offices would do the same, is my guess. I don't know for sure, but I would assume that they'll still keep TCG Player around as an entity, and maybe what everybody's biggest fear was about imposing their ultra beast traits of eBay onto TCG Player is what is actually going to happen. I don't know. That's what it seems like. Which is scary if you're on TCG Player as your primary selling platform.
Yeah.
Well, there's a handful of sellers that their whole livelihood is TCG Player.
A lot. And obviously TCG Player has done a lot of good for the hobby. They do have... I've always had a lot of good things. My relationships with the people at TCG Player have always gone really well. They've always listened to feedback really well. I use their resources quite a bit. So this is... it's a big deal. It has the potential of being a of being a big deal. It could be nothing, but obviously anytime 200 plus people lose their job, like that's awful.
Yeah, for sure. It does say that the place that did get closed down in Syracuse is Syracuse Authentication Center. Do you know, because like obviously eBay has their own authentication centers since they were doing all that authentication prior to buying TCG Player. I just wonder how many different like pieces of TCG Player exist that, you know, might not get touched. Part of it makes me wonder if they thought, you know, oh, we don't need the authentication center here as well, right? This would be an easy thing. This would be an easy thing to get rid of if we're going to get rid of something, unfortunately. And eBay could just say like, we have our own, but they don't have their own everything that TCG Player has. So it seems like even though eBay owns them, there's a lot of leverage in like what TCG Player has, right? They wouldn't want to shut everything down because they bought them for a reason.
What did they just buy them for? Like, not just buy them, but maybe one of the main reasons to buy them was just for the data, like how many people are looking at what cards. And
I feel like 295 million is like, obviously this is a couple of years ago now. I feel like that's cheap now, like with how big TCG Player has gotten and how big the collectible industry has gotten. Like 295 million seems like a steal. Yeah. And I know that in the article they said for logistic purposes they're closing it up and, you know, tried to make it seem as painless as they possibly could. I'm sure it's something else like that they're not directly saying. But
it's good corporate speak.
I don't know from authentication purposes, like eBay does have like their own authentication, especially now with trading cards. Like they've instituted this a few years ago, right? TCG Player doesn't have anything like that, at least not for Pokemon that I can recall. So when you're selling on TCG Player, you're listing cards. It's not like you're sending, like they do have a direct program also, but you're not, like if I decide I want to sell something on TCG Player, like a first edition Charizard PSA 10, like it doesn't need to be authenticated by TCG Player first. Like I'm not sending it to their office first.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas with eBay, isn't it? It's anything over $600 or something like that. They will authenticate for you.
And then don't they like repackage it in like a eBay authentication and then they mail it to you? So
of course they do. Of course they do.
But the weird thing about TCG Player compared to eBay is like if I'm looking for a PSA 9 Charizard, right? I'm typing that in the search bar, I'm scrolling eBay, I'm clicking on it, and then I'm looking at the pictures of said Charizard. On TCG Player, there's no pictures of anything. You're just like, this person says is lightly played or near mint, and it's like, but I can't see it.
And that's one of the things that like would be nice for TCG Player to adapt, and maybe that's something eBay will help, you know, facilitate more. I don't know. But yeah, TCG Player is it's always been like the lazier eBay option, I guess, because you don't have to take pictures of everything. Like it's got all the prices populated for you. And I mean, if you're somebody who's just, I want to mass list a bunch of cards that are, you know, a couple bucks, you know, more competitive cards, I'll pack them all up. Like it's the lazier way to do it, and it's the more efficient. I should say more efficient than lazy. Lazy is probably not the best word to use, but more efficient. But then you don't have to take pictures. But yeah, I mean they have all their guidelines listed, and it's more like we believe that adults are going to be adults using this platform, and that never happens. Like obviously, you order a near mint card and it comes played or something, but TCG Player does do a good job of protecting the buyer very well. So it's worked okay, but as the game grows and the hobby grows and the space grows, I mean, definitely implementing some safeguards would be nice.
Is that what you're using for pricing? Is like TCG Player? I feel like when I see like TikToks or whatever, they're always like, well, let me just check TCG Player real quick.
Yeah, for market purposes, a lot of times I will base it off of TCG Player, which is good to an extent. Also easily manipulated, which also makes it good for an extent, because then a lot of the content that I'm trying to show is to teach people like, hey, it's pretty clear here that Hidden Fates booster packs are being manipulated. Like you can see right here on this graph, it averages 10 to 20 sold on a daily basis. And this day, there's 900 of them that sold. I mean, clearly there was a buyout that happened from either an individual or a Discord group that's like, hey, we're going to buy out this card or this product. And then you can kind of show that happening. TCG Player has become like the norm for market pricing, and it shouldn't be, because there are many outlets out there, you know. So there's some websites that'll track like, well, this is what it's selling for on eBay, this is what it's selling for on TCG Player. You know, like Price Charting does a good job of factoring all these things in, and it's just TCG Player is the norm for a lot of people. That's what they understand. That's what they know.
Going back to like price manipulation, when I think it was Temporal Forces came out, you made a great video showing, because we noticed that, I think it was maybe Walking Wake, or no, the Cobalion one. What's the
Iron
Crown.
Iron Crown. It was Iron Crown was like $50 or something, $40, the special illustration rare. And then the next, like a day later, it was like $200 on TCG Player. And it was like, what happened overnight? This is wild. And I remember thinking that. And then, Danny, you made a video to like specifically show, well, look, there are only 5 for sale. Like something happened here, and then someone priced these all exactly the same, but they're the only 5 available. So they made them very high, you know, and you kind of explained through just like looking at TCG Player where you could specifically see why this happened. And, you know, if after a few days, it kind of came down a little bit, although it never came back down to where it was like that week before. But I just remember specifically seeing that and then thinking, oh, I'm sure you're gonna have a video about this because this is what you do. Analyze these types of things. So yeah,
I think it's just people get burned too often. And one of my biggest gripes about content creation in the space that I'm in is just the idea that we all come into the hobby at different spots. And a lot of content creators, and I've been guilty of this too, make the assumption that, you know, everybody that we're talking to has been in the hobby for as long as we have, or, you know, a lot of times this could be their first time searching for Pokemon stuff. They could have just entered to the hobby. Like, they have no idea what they're looking for. So understanding that everybody's at a different level is super important.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, I do remember initially when this sale was announced with eBay and TCG Player, I do remember people being like, okay, we got to find something else. There needs to be like a new TCG Player popping up. But that didn't seem to happen, right? Like, people just kind of stuck with TCG Player, and it's still here. And I mean, these people, 220 people lost their jobs. I don't know how many people work at TCG Player altogether. Like, is that, I don't know if that's like a third, a fourth, half. But somebody has to keep the site running.
I feel like that's got to be a fairly high number. I would assume that TCG Player would have over 1,000 people that work based off of the growth they've had.
Yeah, I'm looking at, looks like Polygon said something about them having over 600 employees.
Yeah, this says 501.
I don't know if that's post people leaving.
This is 501 after the layoffs.
Okay.
I don't know how accurate
After
that is.
the layoffs.
Yeah.
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 So I guess that's not huge. 700 employees as of recently.
Yeah, I don't think eBay is dumb. I don't think eBay is like, let's buy TCG Player, take all their data, take everything, and then close it down. Because I think people use TCG Player because they don't want to use eBay.
What kind of data could TCG Player have that eBay wouldn't already have? You know, like eBay has been so established for so long. And TCG Player has been around since, like, I don't know, 2008, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I just feel like the data that TCG Player would have, you know, in its back pocket would probably be equivalent and less than that of eBay, especially in the collectible world. Like, eBay's been selling collectibles for 35 years.
Yeah, I will say it's definitely easier to find, maybe not so much like graded stuff, but just to find what you're looking for on TCG Player, like, you know, because it's all divvied up and organized so well by, at least on the Pokemon side, by like set and everything, and it's just so easy to search for particular. You know, it's like, oh, if I want to find that one illustration rare, I can just go find the set and it'll go through. It's just, whereas eBay, yeah, I can do the same, but it just feels like it's just organized in such a better way with TCG Player.
Yep.
Now, and also on eBay, I can't see what it costs like a month ago.
Right. Exactly. There's a lot
also
more
went to like
digging
sold
you have to do.
and then like go back and
well,
like,
you're doing a lot of
technically
your own. You're doing your own research, right, to like figure out those numbers. If you look at sold and figure out what it was before. Yeah, I don't think that eBay is spending $300 million specifically on just a website's organization, like the way that they organize their stuff. But it just feels like eBay, while they know collectibles and you can obviously get anything from eBay, TCG Player has everything just sorted out in a way that just makes a lot more sense. And I don't know if that's something that eBay would want to adopt into the way that their website works as well, because it just works so much better but like obviously you just keep TCG Player open and you just have that as a place for people to go, right? Like you're not competing with it. So
no, TCG Player is obviously just buy it now, you know, versus auction features like what eBay has.
Yeah. Shifting gears real quick, I feel like we kind of have to talk about this. This is the Max finale for Pokemon Go Fest. It'll be on August 23rd and 24th. There's a little trailer for it of Zacian and Zamazenta running. If you look at the logo, it's like purple with like a skeleton body. They said something big is coming. Like that's obviously Eternatus, right? Like it's not anything but Eternatus. I don't think it's going to be like Gigantamax Urshifu or something.
Maybe we're finally getting that Orbeetle.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Battle Styles 2.0. I'm assuming it's going to be the hand Eternatus, right? In Gigantamax
what's that called? Eternamax or something like that?
Eternamax,
it's not Gigantamax. It's something else is the name of that.
I think you're right. Yeah. But I don't think we're actually going to be able to catch that. I think it'll shrink down to regular Eternatus. You'll catch that. That'll be fine. I think I brought this up on the GoCast. I was like, I wonder how many people who did GoFest and went hard to try to get like a shiny Zacian or a shiny Zamazenta. I wonder how many of them are like, okay, I'm actually going to power one up. Because I think Zamazenta and Zacian should be the best to use against Eternatus. And it doesn't require max particles to power up their moves. It just requires candy and Stardust. So if you did like 86 Zacian, you should have more than enough candy to power like a Zacian up to 40, not even 50, and like power up some of its moves.
Yeah, and I did do about 86. Over time, I've done about 86 Zacian raids, so we're there.
Danny, you're checked out of Go, right? It's not something you're...
Yeah. So I vowed to get... I was on the Shadowless podcast at Worlds last year, and they were talking about Go for a long segment and all the shinies that everybody has. And I have one. So I have Snivy, a shiny Snivy, and that's it. So when they played this game where you had to sit down as soon as the shiny was named, so like I started out like I have a Snivy and then I sat down because that was the only one I had. So then I was like, I'm going to start playing this again because that was embarrassing. I got home, I opened it up, and I played it for a day, and I caught another shiny Snivy. And I was like, no, I'm done with this now. Like, forget it. So I have two shinies, and they're both Snivy.
Perfect.
I did open it the 4th of July again and caught some other Pokemon, but no shinies. I don't know.
Are you a Snivy fan? Do you like Snivy?
I don't,
like, is that...
I don't dislike Snivy, but it's not one of like, I don't know. I would say it's probably like my back 400 favorite Pokemon. Like not even in the front half of the Pokedex. Yeah,
it's the shiny's got a nice green. It's a nice tint of green on that shiny, at least. So.
Can you tell that?
Oh no!
There's
I
like
don't
this
think I've
thing
caught a
coming
normal
out.
Snivy yet. I think I've just got 2 shiny Snivies, so they all look the same to me.
Oh, okay. There's this thing coming out called Black Bolt and White Flare, and I believe they'll also have a Snivy in there.
Oh, nice. Okay. But yes, I'll try and get back into it a little bit, as long as I can catch something else.
It's
We'll see at
definitely
Worlds.
like one
We'll
of
see at
those
Worlds.
games where like if you were like at Worlds and like you're hanging out with people and everyone's like let's do like 30 minutes of Pogo. That's so easy to be like, oh yeah, sure, like I'll jump in. But also you live in like the middle of nowhere, so I'm sure when you open up
Right.
Pogo, it's like 3 Pokemon and nothing else.
Yeah, and they're always like the same 3. Yeah,
No Snivy.
they're all the only shiny.
Just live on a Snivy nest.
Super annoying. Forever, like they evolve the game all the time, and it's just Snivy spawns all the time for the last 5 years. It's been really annoying.
That's great. That's great. All right. We'll wrap up the episode here for the normal episode. If
Wait.
you're on the
You don't want to say happy birthday, Pokemon Go. It's the 9th anniversary
it is the
today.
9th. I
as we
put that in the
record.
show notes
9th
and I forgot all
anniversary.
about it.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Did you get your shiny coin gimme ghoul?
I did finally get one after 5 coin bags yesterday, and it's got a background.
Okay. Did
Yeah,
you get one without the background?
No, I need to get one without the background so I can evolve it.
Yeah, I need to get one with the background, so I have that. Yeah. Yeah, I think this anniversary event was good. I like the like party hats in the wild. Like I liked the gimme ghoul thing. I like
lot
the
of
lead up
starters.
to Eternatus. Yeah, it is a lot of starters. Yeah.
It's all starters. You might get more Snivy actually, Danny, if you open your
So when I
if you
opened it
your
up,
game.
though, is it supposed to be just a party hat by itself, and then when you click on the party hat, then do you see what Pokemon it is?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's you hit the party hat, you get like a Pokeball, and then sometimes you hit the party hat, and it could be like Grimer, Eevee,
It was just
Wobbuffet.
Eevee for me all the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But you also have the Kanto starters wearing party hats as well. And
Yes.
those show up as like the Kanto starter wearing a party hat, not just the party hat.
I'm
So-
sure eventually we'll get Johto starters with party hats. We'll get there one day.
Well, yeah, they're gonna eventually every Pokemon will have a party hat because they're gonna need to keep something new.
I mean, they've
thought
done a
Gimme
good
Ghoul-
job. It's made it 9 years. So
Yeah.
no, yeah.
9
They're doing
years.
fine.
I for sure think they're doing Mega Mewtwo next year for 10. And
That
I
would
for
make
sure
sense.
think they're going to raise the
Yeah.
level cap from 50 to 60. Like literally
Yeah.
every single event has been like 3 times XP, 4 times XP. Like they're just
I know. That's true. I just got to level 49 like 3 days ago. So I'm sure once I hit 50, they will make sure to up that cap to 60.
49 to 50 is like the easiest.
Is it?
Yeah, the hardest was for sure the Team Rocket. Like I think it's like 44 to 45. That was like the hardest.
Yeah, that 100 Team Rocket grunts to beat was annoying. I will say, how much longer is the anniversary event going on? Is it another day
Monday.
or two? Oh, it's just
They
till
extended
Monday.
it
So
to Monday because of the issue on the first day.
right. Well, no, but so right now you can also there's more chance at lucky trades. So I did the other day. I did 100 trades with my wife, and 30 of them were lucky. And I was shocked because I needed the 50 lucky trades to get to level 49, and I was only at 7. And I was like,
Good
oh, this is never
timing.
going to happen.
Yeah.
And I did it in 2 days. We were able to trade 43 luckies between each other, doing like 150 trades.
That's
So
true
they
love right
really-
there. You married the
really-
right person,
yeah,
Bobby.
right.
All right. If you're on the free feed, we're gonna wrap up here. If you're on the premium feed, the Patreon feed, or the premium Apple Podcast feed, we'll have our bonus segment with Danny. If you are not on the premium, that's totally cool. Thank you for making it to the end, Danny. If people want to get into the market or just learn more about cards, where can they find you?
So youtube.com/@DannyPhantom. It's just Danny Phantom. So the Pokemon Phantom, and then DANNY.
There you go. All right. And you got a whole online card shop too.
I do. Yeah, the cardcoliseum.com. It's rarely stocked. It's It's probably like a card store in San Diego. It's just always sold out.
Perfect.
Yeah, yep.
It would be weird if it was in stock. It would be like, why do
I
you
mean,
have
when you
cards
put
and no one else
product
does?
up for MSRP or less, it just flies off the shelves or digital shelves. So it goes quick. Yeah.
Makes sense.
All
We
right.
do put singles up too, and singles, those stay on for a little while. So
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Danny, for being on. Like I said, if you're on the premium feed, we'll get a little bonus after the segment. If you want to be on the premium feed, patreon.com/PKMNcast. There is a bunch of free stuff, like last week's episode with Joe. That's free on the Patreon. So there's a bunch of free stuff. Danny, though, because we love Danny so much, we're hiding Danny behind the paywall. So if you want 15 to 20 more minutes with Danny, you got to pay for it. Or you can sign up for the free trial. That works too. All right. Thank you for listening. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
Super effective.
I am recording. Ba, ba, ba.
I am recording. Ba, ba, ba.
let's do this. Yeah, it's a lot different. I mean, it used to be like bulk was a big thing back in the day. Really Sun and Moon era, like bulk was still really big up until it crashed not too long after. I'd say like right around the time Ultra Prism came out. So we would buy a lot of bulk and sort through that, and then you